Well, Pankhurst takes centre stage now on BBC One in the series of plays about women's struggle for equality. Shoulder to shoulder.
Shout, shout, up with your song, cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking. March, march, swing you along, wide goes our banner and hope is waking. Burn in reliance, love and defiance, love in hope, for sure is the end. March, march, many as one, shoulder to shoulder and friend to friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, the word for today is victory. The Conciliation Bill under Lord Lytton has begun its course through Parliament unopposed. In demanding votes for women this session, we know we have the country with us. We have the women with us. And now we have the House of Commons with us. And if Mr. Asquith ventures to flout the opinion of the House of Commons, then something must be done. And if revolution is needed, there will be revolution.
Yeah.
If we work together, if we fight together, the bill will be law this session. And we say to our friends, the majority in the House, stand firm. You can win the day. Be men and quit yourselves like men.
Don't you wish you were a man?
Yes, don't you? The day has now come when men and women must stand together, determined that women shall be free.
Good. That'll sound splendid in the Albert Hall tomorrow night.
They'll lap it up. They always do from you.
And what about the papers? I want them to ram home the single point that if the House of Commons sticks to its guns, the Cabinet won't be able to obstruct the bill.
Yes, they must report that.
Wait till you see the headlines. Cristobel calls for revolution.
You must go to bed now. You've a long day tomorrow.
What about you two?
Accounts. We'll have to finish them.
Perhaps I will then. I'll go and make some cocoa. Would you like some?
Not for me, dear.
Godfather?
No, not if I have to keep awake.
And you do.
See?
I'll say good night then.
Sleep well.
Good night, dearest.
Good night.
Fred. Do we take good care of her?
Yes, I think so.
I think sometimes her mother worries. I don't know why she does. Oh, well, come on. We must get through this.
Oh, good one. Jolly good one.
Thank you, Fred.
I'm sure we're wise to hold our hand at present. Now that the King's funeral is over, people were beginning to think of the coronation. Militancy will be very unpopular at a time like that. Yet you must agree.
I don't like truces before the enemy surrenders. They make me nervous.
I can't believe you'd lose your nerve.
I didn't say that, Emmeline. I said the truce has made me nervous, which is quite a different thing.
Well, I've played. Shall we move on?
Of course, you have a better chance to gauge opinion in the country.
Well, I see more of it than you do.
Spending all our time in London, just the three of us, must mean we have a smaller view in some ways.
It means that you make policy and I make speeches.
That's not true.
Of course not. It is meant to be provoking. The trouble with you, Emmeline, is that you're such a good woman. I sometimes wonder if you're not too good to understand this brutish government at all.
Oh, yes. Yes, she is.
Oh, I won't take your evidence. Husbands never know. Just look at how on earth did I manage that?
You're not through yet.
No. Neither is the Conciliation Bill, Fred. That's what we have to remember. What happens if Asquith tries any of his tricks? Cristobel. What on earth are you doing?
Thinking.
Go on, try.
Well, what do you think? You don't say anything.
What about?
The truce. Are you still happy with it? Do you think we can trust the government?
No, why ever should we?
There you are. You see, Cristobel agrees.
We leave it to the House. If they have the courage to push the bill, the government can't stop them. And if they don't, then they can't accuse us of taking the law into our own hands. So either way, we win.
Exactly.
Rookie! Well, wasn't that splendid? Oh, Lord, here comes Lady Blessing.
Whoever's that with her?
Emlyn, there's someone who wants to talk to you. Dr. Ethel Smythe. I don't want to spoil your game, but I simply had to meet you before I went. I'm Muse Doc. I'm Doctor of Music. My opera, The Wreckers. The first time I've heard you speak this afternoon, thanks to Lady Blessy.
Speeches don't move the government, Dr. Smythe.
You must call me Ethel.
Our motto is deeds, not words.
That's what I like about you. There's no Tommy rot. I want to help.
Well, in that case, you must decide what you can do.
I'll give up my career. 2 years. That's the most I can do at the present. Every great cause needs a tune, you know, a thumping great march. Pom, pom, pom. Yes, we can start with that. Won't take very long. Now, back to your game, and I'll bring it to you when we're ready. Right? Right. Marvelous woman. Wonderful. What a voice. Marvelous. I don't think she's really a singer. Do you? But really.
Pum, pum, pum.
Hush, Fred. I rather liked her.
What do you think? Very good. There's movement in it.
Don't suppose I'll finish it.
Why ever not?
No time. You know they've asked me to write a history of the movement. I'm calling it the suffragette.
Sylvia, thank goodness. I've been so terrified they'd asked me.
Oh, I think they've learned that lesson. Too many editors are waiting for articles you promised them a year ago.
Well, I always warn them. Oh, it's no good. I can't. There's an end to it. You've started already, I suppose. How's it coming?
Well, it's all right at present. What worries me... This conciliation bill. How am I going to end it? The book. I start with Father's bill to end discrimination against women and come to this. Votes for women householders and business owners, not even 1 million of them.
Well, it's a beginning. Step by step. It is called the conciliation bill, after all.
Well, it doesn't conciliate me. You've always insisted on votes for women on the same terms as men, and no surrender until we'd won.
Oh, I didn't want the truce at all. I told them that.
What was their answer?
There are political reasons, and it's the policy that we've agreed on.
That Cristobel's agreed on.
No, Sylvia.
Oh, Mother, what's the use? I can't understand her. Has she entirely forgotten everything Father stood for? The Tsarist government has tortured and massacred 20,000 people, executed 3,000 political prisoners, and she dismisses it. She calls the struggle for freedom in Russia a men's movement. What does she care about industrial strife in England? About the money poured into naval armaments while workers starve? She brings out votes for women with a black border because a drunken, lecherous king has died. The daughter of a socialist and a Republican.
Well, what else was she supposed to do? The king was dead. People expect that sort of thing.
We never used to care what people thought or said.
Well, we do now. If we're to win supporters for the cause, we must.
And sacrifice our principles.
Some of them. Listen, if you want to work with other people, you'll have to do a lot of things that you might not necessarily. Look, I have to do things that I don't want.
What sort of things?
Well, nothing against my conscience. I don't mean that exactly, but it isn't pleasant, the life I lead. Constantly traveling in dirty trains to dirty towns and cities, this one or that, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. The same faces, the same reception, the same speeches afterwards. It's... I'm wicked to complain when there are women really suffering. But I do wish... Oh, I do long sometimes for a little peace and quietness. A home that's mine, where we could live together. It isn't possible.
You mean you and Cristobel?
The Pethick Lawrences are very good. They're such good people. I've come to the conclusion that really very, very good people can be a little trying. Oh, don't listen to me. I am the person who can't stand whiners. So, we must all work together on the policy that we've agreed on for the bill and for the truce. And you must write your book and get it finished on time, which is something I could never do.
Yes, I must.
When you have things, you don't appreciate them. I realized that when your father died. And then Harry. All those years when he was ill and I was in America. People, speeches, people. No one will ever know how lonely I've been.
Have you?
When I'm dead, that will be my epitaph. She gave good speeches.
And this is what I have to say to you as members of this Women's Parliament. If this bill, in spite of our efforts, is killed by the government, then first of all I have to say there is an end of the truce. Yes. If there is no time for our measure in the House of Commons, then we shall say, very well. Since we are denied a voice in deciding how we shall be governed, we shall refuse to be governed. I have just been handed this piece of paper. Mr. Asquith has announced in the House his decision to go to the country in a general election. Now, you all know what that means. Bills that are not yet law must go again through all their stages. So the 2 votes in favor of our conciliation bill are flung back in our faces. A coward, you say. You may well say so. Listen to this. In a written answer to members' questions, the Prime Minister said, the Prime Minister promises facilities for the passing of the woman suffrage bill. Not before March. Not for next session. But for the next Parliament.
We will take nothing but next session.
Yes!
The promise of a next Parliament is an absurd mockery of a plan. It is an insult to common sense. We hurl it back upon them.
Yes.
They have been talking of declarations of war. We also declare war from this moment.
I am going to lead another deputation to the House of Commons. And if no one cares to follow me, then I will go alone. We're a deputation to Parliament.
All right, officer, leave it to us.
Let the crowd get at them. We're going to Parliament.
point of order, Mr. Speaker. Is the Home Secretary aware that there is a battle raging in the square outside this house? Women are being savaged.
I'm sure the honourable member for Merthyr is aware, as I am, that some women were disappointed by my announcement this afternoon.
Disappointed? You cheated and insulted them.
Well,
I know something.
I shall be pleased to answer the honourable gentleman.
I ask the Prime Minister to answer this. Will he grant time in the last 10 days left to this Parliament for the third reading of the Conciliation Bill?
I will answer in a moment.
Integrity of the Prime Minister.
No, sir. I want my question answered.
They will...
And the women want it answered as well.
They will be answered at the appropriate time.
And when's that?
Well, if you're so impatient, as I'm sure the ladies will understand, the answer is no.
It's Annie. It's Annie Kenny. Come on now. Come on now.
Suffragist attack on the House of Commons. 120 arrested. Disgraceful scenes. Reckless women charge headlong into cordon of police.
Several of the police had their helmets knocked off in carrying out their duty. Their method of shoving back the raiders lacked nothing in vigor. They were, at any rate, kept warm by the exercise.
The women on this occasion were reckless beyond belief. The suffragettes arrested will be disappointed martyrs.
Discharge of suffragists at Bow Street on eve of general election.
It is marvellous that those who were arrested met with no serious injury.
The hour has struck. Something is going to happen, and that soon. Woman has outlived her days of servitude. She has outgrown and outworn her bonds. And if they are not loosened now, she will burst them. Evolution or revolution, which is it to be? Wonderful, wonderful Joan of Arc! We believe like hers, our voices are of God. They are looking to us. We must decide. The election's over. Asquith is still Prime Minister. Are we to trust him now?
Dearest? I don't know. I don't, honestly. All I do know is the government is dangerous and cunning. Suppose they want us to revert to militancy. It could be a trap.
Asquith has given this new pledge to Vic Lytton. The government will stick by its promise to give time to the Conciliation Bill in the spirit and in the letter. He can't go back on that.
He said he would give time next year.
But that doesn't alter the fact...
Jam tomorrow, never today.
Exactly. Cristobel knows what I mean. We remember, don't we? Things that happened in the early days, before you and Fred began to think of women's suffrage.
Yes, but it's now that we must make decisions. Annie, you're sitting silent. What do you say?
Well, aren't we forgetting something?
What?
The coronation. I mean, I keep thinking about the girls back in Oldham. They're saving their pennies for coronation outings and trinkets. Their lads as well. I mean, what are we going to do? Start a new campaign of militancy when the whole country's singing God Save the King? It doesn't make sense, that's what I think.
Right. Fred said it too.
Right.
The government are trying to push us into militancy. And what do they lose? Like last time in Parliament Square with scores of women injured. Aunt Mary too, and now she's dead. Why should women suffer broken bodies because the government won't keep its word? It's wrong.
Yes, but what will you do to make them keep their promise? They won't tell.
Something different. You know how much plate glass there is in London? I walk down Oxford Street and gaze at it mile after mile. Keep the truce until the coronation's over. And if Asquith starts to wriggle, we'll break every window from Marble Arch to Covent Garden. They'll have broken windows for broken promises, not broken bodies.
Good. I like that. And it'll give me something new to tell them when I'm in America next month. The argument of the broken pane. That's something even the government can understand.
But surely...
Yes, my love.
Am I just being too moral? You'll say I am, but it seems to me we're strongest when we make the government look brutal, not when we threaten them.
Em, the government forces us to threaten them. Let them give us what we want or suffer the consequences. That's what Cristobel is saying, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Now, listen, are we all agreed on this? We issue a statement to the press saying that we accept the government's good faith as a loyal gesture in coronation year and hang Asquith's promise around his neck. If he betrays us, we'll use your argument of the broken pane.
Good.
And announce a great procession on Coronation Day.
We'll bring out 50,000 women, 100 bands.
Pageants, women through the ages.
An empire pageant showing the role of woman in all the countries of the flag.
Let's have a grand fair to pay for it all, eh?
We accept the government's pledge and let them dare to break it.
Cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking. March, march, swing you along. White blows our banner and hope is waking. Song with its story, dreams with their glory. Lonely call and glad is their word.
Suffrage Day has come. Our women's social and political union tender to the royal and imperial majesties the loyal and devoted service. May the empire prosper under their guidance and advance in strength, in honor, and in righteousness. And may men and women rendered equal before the law, secure by the united endeavor, an even greater future than anything before. Everyone enjoy yourselves. We celebrate the coming triumph of votes for women.
Support the Grand Union Fair, penny a go on the anti-suffrage coconut shy.
Mr. Churchill, Mr. Lloyd George, Mr. Asquith. Come on, ladies. Would you like to donate to the suffrage cause?
Come on, ladies, have a go.
Come on, ladies,
Come
on your
on,
penny.
penny a go.
Hey, lovely ladies.
Penny a go on the anti-suffrage coconut shy.
Help the suffrage cause.
Hello, honey. I'm sure you'll not miss a chance to have a go at Mrs. Humphrey Ward.
Hey, shall we? No, I'm hopeless.
Oh, no sitting targets.
Come on. 3 for me, 3 for Anne.
Right, I've got my 3 here. There you are. More than necessary.
Who shall I aim for?
Asquith, go on, have a go at Asquith.
And you have a go at Mrs. Humphrey Ward. That's who I'm after.
I can't wait.
Cristobel!
There you are. I've been looking for you. What are you doing?
You better take the next one for me. I'm off.
Oh, don't be silly. I can't eat anything. I'm worse than you are. That's a lovely hat. Where did it come from?
Godfather bought it for me.
Really? Well, Fred, how clever of you.
Well, how to make a splash on Coronation Day.
Well, you certainly did.
Oh, look, I've missed a lot. Come on, fine. Have another go for
Are you watching? Come on, here. Come on, Annie, look. Now watch. The best thing I learned at Eton.
Asquith!
We've got him!
Certainly I will answer the question. My opinions on woman suffrage are, I think, fairly well known. With regard to the so-called conciliation bill, it's not a term I'd have chosen for it. With regard to the bill which went by this name, the government, whatever the opinion of its individual members, gave certain distinct and definite pledges, and by those they must abide. But of course, a much larger question is raised than this. I have long been of the opinion that there's only one way in which this matter can be settled on a sure, rational, and lasting foundation, and that is by abolishing once and for all the technical distinctions which at present exist between the different categories of qualification: lodger, property owner, occupier, and the like. The whole thing must be swept away. We believe that a man's right to vote depends only on his being a citizen. Speaking for myself and not for the government, I necessarily part company with those who say that the term man must include woman.
Why not? Why should it not?
The manhood suffrage bill, which the government intend to introduce next session.
Shame on you! Shame! Shame! Shame on you! Shame! Shame on you!
Finish! It may be that manhood suffrage should include womanhood. The bill we are to introduce will be in such a form that it will be open to the House to make that extension and amendment if it pleases. I say this in parentheses in order that it might not be supposed I've gone back on anything I've said in the past.
Shame! Shame!
So what does it mean? The government's declared war on women, that's what it means.
Then you must declare war on the government.
Of course. Did you think I was afraid?
You've taken long enough about it.
Really, Adela, as your sister, I'm surprised you don't show more intelligence. The reason I held off so long was because I knew how much more serious militancy would have to be when it was renewed. I've no intention of going back on the old style of things.
Long live the revolution. We'll make a Marxist of you yet.
And if you must annoy me in my office, please leave your politics outside.
I only came to sign on for the next demonstration.
There's the leader for Votes for Women. I'm concentrating on Lloyd George.
Is that wise? I still believe he is one of our supporters.
He devised the strategy. It's very clever. He knows very well the House won't carry a measure giving votes to all women. What does it cost him to support a measure he knows the House won't approve? He admits the government's torpedoed the conciliation bill and laughs behind our backs.
Or maybe you're right, dear.
Yes, I am.
Oh, Cristobel. I've received a letter from the PM Secretary. Mr. Asquith has agreed to receive a deputation of all suffrage groups on November the 17th.
Including us?
Yes. As your mother's in America, I will lead our delegation, but you'll be there, of course, with Annie Kenny.
Yes, of course. With all the leaders.
Well, that's what I meant. Dear, I should have put that better. Now, in reply to Mr. Asquith's letter.
Forgive me, I want to understand you. The government is introducing its own measure and granting facilities for yours. What more do you ask?
We're asking the government to go forward with a united policy.
Exactly.
It's a perfect absurdity to expect us to rely upon the help of cabinet ministers acting privately. Shepherds without their crooks can't discipline their flock.
Not only without their crooks, without their whips.
Yes, and their whips are even more important than their crooks. Absentee members are almost as great a problem as those who are opposed to woman suffrage. But for the Prime Minister, we feel sure that your objections to woman suffrage are not as great now as they were at one time.
Well, I don't know why you suspected.
No. Your only answer to the agitation is more votes for men. You mustn't suppose that because politicians have been able to trick women out of their political rights for 40 years, that they can continue to do so now. We have been deceived and betrayed time and again.
Deceived and betrayed.
We demand woman suffrage, nothing more and nothing less.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been very pleased to have this opportunity with my friend the Chancellor of the Exchequer of meeting and listening to the views of this very large and influential deputation. Now, what the government say, and what I say to you again, is this. We hold our hands, we do not interfere as a government, we leave it to the House in whatever form the House chooses. Now, I suppose there'd been no question of the introduction of what I call a general reform bill in the next session. You'd have been in precisely the same position with the conciliation bill as you are now.
No.
But forgive me for saying so, you cannot possibly point out to me any distinction from the parliamentary point of view between the two cases.
Rubbish.
Miss Pankhurst, in a very able speech, used one or two rather strong expressions too, to which, of course, I did not take any exception.
I'm afraid I can't withdraw them.
No, that is the last thing I should expect you to do. You talked at peace, presenting, I must say, a pistol in one hand and a dagger in the other. And Mrs. Pethick Lawrence, too, used some expressions about being tricked and betrayed, or where does the trick come in? The position of the House today is perfectly consistent. It's exactly the same as it has been all through. Now, I understand Miss Pankhurst's position. She says it is our duty ourselves to introduce a bill conferring the franchise on women on the same terms as men. I understand that. It is a perfectly intelligible position. But we've never promised to do anything of the kind. And if you ask me why we don't do it, I say to you once again, I am the head of the government, and I do not intend to make myself the instigator of a measure which I believe to be not in the interests of the country.
Then you can go.
Right.
And we'll get another head.
If you can get rid of me, well and good. I listened politely to what you had to say. I ask you to do the same for me. The government is neutral. The remedy lies in your own hands. If you can persuade a majority of the House of Commons, of the present House of Commons, to introduce into the reform bill the qualifications that you seek, then I give you my assurance on behalf of the government that they will accept the decision. And that ought to satisfy you.
We are not satisfied.
Ah, no. I do not expect to satisfy you.
Will the manhood suffrage bill be introduced before the conciliation bill?
Well, I can't say anything as to the priorities, but in any case, it makes no difference to your position.
It makes all the difference.
Forgive me, I understand more about parliamentary procedure than you do. It does not make the least difference in the world.
There is only one thing I want to say. And I say it to you after 21 years' experience of Parliament. Now, don't you commit yourselves too readily to the statement that this is a trick upon women's suffrage. If you find next year, as a result of this trick, that several million women have got the vote, then those who committed themselves to that suggestion will look very foolish.
We shall not mind that, so long as we get the vote.
Very well. Remember.
Just like the government. Try and catch us on the hop while you're in America. Pan? Pan, where are you? Come on. Come. He's after rabbits. Oh, what do you think of this? A likely spot?
If you think so, dear, it really doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned.
Righto. Right. Got the ammo here. There we are. Are you quite sure that you've never thrown a ball?
It's evident my education was neglected.
Only in essentials.
Do you know, maybe that's what's wrong with us all.
What?
I mean, when you think that Mr. Hobhouse, a cabinet minister, actually complains that if there were a popular demand for women's suffrage, we'd do something violent, like burning down Nottingham Castle, who was the mended over their grievances in 1832. Oh, well, breaking windows is a start.
Right. Go.
Shall I aim it?
Well, that tree, I think that would be large enough.
Right. Here goes, then.
Oh, Pan. Oh, my darling. Oh, poor old fella. No, we didn't mean it. We really didn't.
Why did it go like that?
And what are we going to do with you? I don't know if you're going to scare the enemy, but by God, you frightened Pan.
Oh, well, if you think it's so amusing, I might as well go home.
Oh, no, now, don't be angry. No, please, no, I didn't mean it. No, really, I didn't.
Ethel, I have to learn.
Yes, right, I know. That's why we're here. Come on, we're going to start again. Come on. Come on. Here we are. Now then, this time, now, are you listening to me? Arm up there, right? And this time, don't let go until the arm comes forward. Right? Now, just you think about those brutes of the government, and we'll dish them yet.
There. That's where I'll be tomorrow. Number 10. And if I miss with my stone, Ethel Smythe won't miss with hers. She's a crack shot.
I want to be there this time.
No. Now, Cristobel, remember our agreement. One of us has to stay out of prison. And you're the politician. It has to be you.
Yes, I know. By the way, did I tell you I'm moving out of here? I found myself a flat today.
A flat? What? You're moving after all these years with Emmeline and Fred. Well, what did they say?
They understand I needed somewhere of my own, that's all it is.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course they understand. Well, I'm sure it's better. After all, you're not a young girl anymore, you're a grown woman. And I have sometimes felt that the Pettit Lawrences, well, not that they take you for granted. It's hard for them to realize that you don't need them as you used to. That's what I mean.
Do you think so?
You don't need anyone. I'm sure you don't need me.
Mother, it's winning. That's what I think about.
Yes. I know. I wish it were tomorrow. I don't like waiting.
Vote for women!
Hey, you!
Here's Fred. Oh, there's Mr. Lawrence. Hello, Fred. Have you got your bag? That's our bail money. Hello, Fred.
Change hats. Change hats.
Change hats. Change hats. Change. Everybody change. Well done, girls. How did it go?
Splendid. The whole of Bond Street, nearly all the big stores in Oxford Street. The damage must be several £1,000s.
I picked the city.
Well, I'll see you in court.
I apprehended her and asked her what she was doing. She said, me, and I said, yes, you. You've broken that window. She then produced a hammer from her mouth and shouted, here goes another. Another window, sir. Well, I then arrested her.
But not before time. You say the defendant was wearing a straw hat?
Yes, sir, with a red ribbon.
She's wearing a black cross.
It was a straw, sir. I wrote it down.
Yes, no doubt the last one, or I'd be giving her 3 months. Case dismissed.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I can hear them. Listen.
Straight away.
Have a warrant. Search these premises. Detective Inspector Morgan. Will you ladies stand clear of the desk, please?
The challenge. The government has not... Is that you, Mrs. Harding?
Oh, thank God you're here.
What is it?
Fred Lawrence sent me. The police have raided Clement's Inn. They've arrested Fred and Emmeline on conspiracy charges.
Conspiracy? They can make that mean anything they want.
Oh, that's what Fred told me. He said it was a blanket charge or something. They've got a warrant out for you as well, and your mother. You'll be served in prison. It was only chance I went back to the office and I found them. Oh, they pulled open files and taken things away, and oh, it was awful. Fred managed to get a few moments with me alone. He asked me to take over the editing of Votes for Women. He said you were writing an editorial.
That's another reason I had to come. Have you got it?
Yes, it's here. They've laid down a challenge, just as I wrote. So much for Asquith's pledge. Now they intend to crush us. But we'll show them. Even if they arrest us, even if they arrest all the leaders, we must show them by greater militancy. Greater and greater militancy. That arresting us will have the opposite effect. It will not stop the movement, but make it stronger, more determined. That's what we'll show them. They don't know about this place. So there's time. I'm alone. That's what it means, you see. Alone now. I thought I'd make a fight for it with the police.
You've heard then. Now look, love, we must not let them get you. I've got a cab outside.
No one followed you?
Of course not.
I wanted time to think.
I'm taking you to Nurse Pines.
Good. The nursing home, Pembridge Villas. She said once when she had the lift put in that I could always hide there in the hole in the wall.
Well, you can't wear that hat now.
Nonsense, why not? Godfather bought it for me.
Well, it's a bit conspicuous now, don't you think?
Nonsense. You've got a cab. It isn't far. Come on.
If you say so.
We're operating later on. Appendicectomy. So that won't wait. If the police come, we could take you to the theatre in a mask. You wouldn't faint, I suppose.
I don't think so.
Those will have to be burned. I'm sorry, Cristobel, but if the police come, we can't have the smallest scrap of evidence. They'd close me like a shot. You can sleep here this evening and leave first thing in the morning.
Well, I shan't sleep anyway.
Is Miss Kenny coming back?
Yes, she's gone to pack some things for me.
Oh, well, that's all right, then.
Lady Pine. That's what Mother calls you.
Your dear mother. As if she hadn't done enough. Well, now this. I suppose she'll come back here when it's all over. Weak from fasting. And I'll nurse her back to health. And off she'll go again.
Well, you wouldn't want her to give in.
What difference would it make to her what I want? They'll never break her. None of them. There's a real lady for you. If anything happens, I'll have you called at once. Right, Helen?
Thank you. I'm alone. Alone now.
One of us has to stay out of prison. And you're the politician. It has to be you.
I know.
You don't need anyone.
Like Joan of Arc. We believe like hers, our voices are of God. They are. They are. They shan't take me. They shall never take me. I shall burst my bonds. Escape. Of course, I shall escape. My freedom.
I know, but how? How will you do it?
Edith. When I was in Holloway, I remembered it from my law studies. A political offender isn't liable to extradition. Extradition? I can go to France and they can't touch me. I must escape to save the movement, all of us.
Well, that's all very well, but who's going to run things here?
You are.
I am.
You were a regional organizer. Someone's got to do it, whether I escape or not.
You're right.
What do you say then?
Oh, well, don't worry, I'll manage. Don't vex yourself. I'll take care of
And I want you to come over every week if possible so we can work out plans.
Every week to France?
It's not the moon.
It is to me. Oh, well, if you don't go there, you go to prison. At least I'll see you once a week.
Annie.
There's the books you wanted. There's your money. And there is your hat. A bit more sensible than the other thing, don't you think?
How do I look?
Pale. It's only like a paint.
Beast, I haven't got any.
There you are, then. That's your coat.
Like going to school.
Well, maybe it won't be long.
It won't. I know. You'll break them.
We're off.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Miss Pine, Detective Inspector Morgan. I'm looking for a Miss Cristobel Pankhurst. I hold a warrant for her arrest.
Miss Cristobel Pankhurst?
I believe you know her.
Oh, yes, Inspector. I've known her for a good many years. And her mother, too.
When did you see her last?
Let me see now, Cristobel.
Did she call here last night? Is she here now?
Do you know, Inspector, I can't say when I last saw her.
You've no objections if we come inside and have a look around?
You're most welcome.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes, ma'am. Can I help you?
Yes, I believe you can, if you don't think I'm foolish. But I expect you realize this is a boat train.
Yes, ma'am. Next stop, Folkestone.
Yes, you see, I have been occupying myself during the journey and writing a letter to my mother. Now, could you be so kind as to post it for me? I doubt if I shall have another opportunity before we board the steamer.
No trouble at all, ma'am. Rely on it.
Thank you. Really so kind. It's already stamped.
Thank
Au revoir. Such a nice man. I do think our police are wonderful. Don't you?
Yes, wonderful.
Awake, for morning in the bowl of night has flung the stone that puts the stars to flight.
They seek her here, they seek her there, policemen seek her everywhere. Is she in heaven? Is she in... Well, the damned elusive Cristobel. In London, in Manchester, in Douglas, in Edinburgh. Is there any place on earth the lickspittles of the Tory press have not assured us she must be? And all the time, we have the answer. My friend Israel Sangville has given it to us. She is here. Gentlemen of the press, she is here in our hearts.
Godfather. Oh, I hardly recognized you.
What? What do you mean? Oh, this? Yes, well, that's my disguise, yes. I thought perhaps the police might not approve of my leaving the country while I'm still on bail.
Well, how did you get here?
New Haven, Dieppe, the night boat, not the most pleasant crossing.
Emmeline isn't with you.
No, I left her in the West Country with friends. We spent Easter with them. You're really here?
Can I get you anything? Coffee?
No, not yet. We've got such a lot to talk about. How have you been managing?
I have no difficulty. It was difficult at first, waiting for news. Until one day Annie arrived, and since then I feel as much in charge of things as ever I did in London. I've regular visitors. Mother was here last week. And you're almost my bad books for not having been before.
Oh, dear. Cristobel, it's worrying me. Annie tells me that you're preparing a new campaign of militancy, including arson.
Yes, she's drawn up lists of volunteers. Everything's ready.
Yes, but we're appearing at the Old Bailey in 2 weeks' time on the conspiracy charge.
I won't do anything until the trial's over. I realize I mustn't prejudice the sentences.
Your own as well.
Mine. They can't try me in my absence. Surely you didn't think.
Yes, I did. It's wrong, Cristobel. You ought to be there.
Nonsense. Whatever for? To pay the penalty for my crimes? I've not committed any. None of us has. We're not common criminals. I don't see why any of us should have to suffer when we've done no wrong. Besides, there had to be someone to control the movement, someone they can't touch. Could have been any of us. As it is, it's me. You don't agree? Tell me why.
Because I believe that martyrs do more for a cause than violence. You see, I feel certain that if we all go to prison, the outcry will be tremendous. The whole country will be on our side.
What use will that be if they've no leader? How many martyrs do they want? You, Emmeline, Mother?
Oh, you're the most important to the public.
Me? Why?
Oh, great Scott, because you're young and beautiful. And do I have to tell you, half England is in love with you. Surely you know that.
Then England is very foolish. I don't intend to be confused by other people's passions. I have only one, to defeat this government. And for that I must be free as I am now and shall remain. You understand?
Yes, of course. Must be your decision. So, there'll be 3 of us.
Frederick Pethick Lawrence, Emmeline Pethick Lawrence, and Emmeline Pankhurst. And there are circumstances connected with your case which the jury have very properly brought to my attention. And I have been asked by you, all 3, to treat you as first-class misdemeanants. But as you say openly that you mean to continue to break the law, to make you first-class misdemeanants would only be to put into your hands further capacities for executing that purpose. The sentence of the court upon each of you is that you will be imprisoned for 9 months in the 2nd Division. And as the Crown has been placed to great expense and private citizens have been badly damaged in their properties by your acts, as to you, Frederick Pethick Lawrence, and as to Emmeline Pankhurst, I make a further order that you pay the costs, jointly and severally, of the prosecution in the case.
Stay where you are. You have been forcibly feeding Mrs. Pethick Lawrence. You shan't feed me.
I'm afraid I must.
If you dare to take so much as one step inside this cell, I shall defend myself. Just one step.
Well, no matter. The morning will do as well.
Wait. Now I want you to take me to Mrs. Pethick Lawrence. It's against regulations. Take me to Mrs. Pethick Lawrence. Never mind. It's all over now. Never mind. Come on. Never mind, dear. They won't come to you again.
There. It's done. Now I can listen to you. Sylvia, what's the matter? Why so dismal? Don't worry about Mother and the others. They'll be out of prison in no time. Annie's had word. How can the government hold them when they don't either feed them or let them starve, you see? And I want to show you Paris. It's such a lovely season with all the chestnut trees in bloom. And pictures. You'll want to see the pictures. Yes. Well, then. What is it?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be the time to be thinking about things like that.
When was it, so far as you're concerned?
That isn't fair.
It is. You're always gloomy, even as a child. I can't remember how many times I found you crying in a corner, usually about nothing at all. Well, if you're not keen on Paris, tell me about America. Seems God's country hasn't changed you at all.
I didn't change it either.
But you tried.
They didn't like the window smashing when it happened. The older people, anyway. But there was tremendous enthusiasm in the colleges. One of the girls I met there is going to join me from Michigan.
Good. It's the young who understand now. Now that the fight's on, there's no pretending anymore. Those who want to join must fight in unity. And those who don't mustn't get in the way.
And what about me?
You? I don't mean you. Behave as if you were still out of the country. And when those who are active are arrested, you'll be called on and you'll be there.
Is that all?
What more do you want?
It's so inadequate. Mother's in prison. Mrs. Pethick Lawrence is being forcibly fed. Fred Lawrence, too. Do you expect me to act as if I was afraid?
See, I told you
when I got back, I was the only one of us in England and out of prison. Adela's gone to Australia. You're over here. Now, I had to see you. Not that I want to row, but there are things I can't accept, knowing what you've done and what you'll do. I see so clearly what will happen. All the suffering. And I don't understand what you imagine is the purpose of it all, where it'll end.
It will end when we've won. Until then, there must be unity under one command here in Paris where the government can't reach us. And do you think that being an exile is so easy? Because it's not. And if you don't want to row, I'm sure that I don't.
You won't get rid of me like Adela.
You could be multiplied 100-fold, but one of Adela's too many. Speak at a few meetings if you want, but why concern yourself with policy? Leave that to me. Now, that's an end of being serious. I want to buy a dress. I found a perfect shop. And I'm going to show you pictures, so you must choose. Tell me, where shall we go?
Cristobel,
I won't say a word on any other subject until you tell me.
To the Pantheon. I want to see their collection of Puvis de Cheyenne.
Good. That's what we'll do then. And don't worry about the movement. The good ship WSPU is under my flag with all her cargo, and she'll come safely home.
Still here. Home.
I dreamt about it every night in prison.
Did you?
Fred, there's someone here.
What?
Who is it?
Mr. Pethick Lawrence?
Yes?
Good evening, sir. My name is Hawkins, bailiff. I'm afraid we've had to take possession of your house, sir. With due authority. I dare say you'd like to see the warrant.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. It's a matter of an undischarged debt, I'm told, to the court.
The judge's order. Costs of our case. I've instructed my solicitors not to pay on principle.
I'm afraid we can't admit you to the property, sir. Those are my instructions.
Yes, we understand.
I was sure you would, sir. Good evening to you, ma'am.
Where shall we go?
Friends, there are things for us to do out of England.
Then go. Go quickly.
Face to the dawn. Just wait until you see. Oh, precious one. It was in that little junk shop in Montmartre. You know, the one you showed me yesterday. But I swear it wasn't there then. I'd seen it.
She's mad.
Why? What happened?
The English papers came while you were out.
Dublin. Riots in the streets. Mary Lee and Gladys Evans set fire to the Theatre Royal where Asquith was to speak.
It's happened.
With bombs and tins of petrol.
Oh, let me see.
Oh, my splendid ones. Oh, they dared. It's the signal for the revolution. Nothing can stop us now. The homes of cabinet ministers, government buildings. It's begun. And you and Annie planned it all.
We did have a bit to do with it, we'll say that.
Yeah. What do you imagine Fred and Emmeline will think?
Well, they're in Canada. Or I suppose Emmeline would disapprove.
I didn't mean that.
Well, what did you mean then?
There's a new difficulty so far as Fred's concerned. The London firms are taking actions against him to make good their losses in the window-smashing raid.
Yes, I know. You told me that.
Well, if it goes against him and everything we damage is charged to Fred, he'll lose his fortune.
What could he do to avoid liability?
Do? Remove his assets to another country, I suppose.
To Canada.
Why Canada?
That's where he is.
Yes, if you want. To Canada.
It's not a question of what I want, is it? It's a question of the movement.
I must say, I've wondered what would happen. I mean, when they come back from Canada, this new militant policy, you in Paris and you in and out of prison. We must have one directive.
There is the possibility that Fred and Emmeline might take control.
I didn't say that.
No, I know you didn't, Mother. I did.
I'll write to them. If we continue this new militant policy, as we intend to, then the Pethick Lawrences will be ruined. I shall suggest that they stay in Canada for the moment. It would be better for them. And better for the movement.
They'd resign, they'd have to.
It's the parting of the ways.
People are going to have to choose. Us or the Pethick Lawrences.
Well, you know where I stand. But you, how do you feel? I mean, you and Fred and Em and all those years you lived together.
What do my feelings matter? Mine or anyone? Very well, you say all those years with Fred and Emmeline. But I'm alone now. And loneliness can give you strength. And there's only one thing matters to me. What we must do to win.
Yes. And the fight's on.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Hello, we're back. Never mind the cases, Fred. Come on in.
Emma.
We landed this morning and came straight here. How's Clementine?
Hello, Mavis.
Evelyn, what's happened?
You haven't heard.
What?
I must tell you before you see Mrs. Pankhurst. They're going to turn you out of the WSPU. Everyone knows here.
I don't believe you. It's impossible.
No. Haven't you heard?
We had a letter. But that was on financial matters. A suggestion we rejected. But it's not possible to expel us from the movement. We shall have to be consulted.
Fred. Emily. I wrote to you. I should have made it clearer. I hoped you'd understand.
It isn't true.
Yes, I'm afraid it is. I'm quite determined, for all our sakes, Fred. I've given the matter a great deal of thought, as I'm sure you'll understand. And I've decided there must be unity. And that means complete and absolute control by Cristobel and myself, acting alone.
Then it's not even a question of policies.
Oh, you haven't agreed with our policy for a long time.
Not with yours, perhaps? Always with Cristobel?
I can't believe this until I hear it from Cristobel herself.
Very well. We can't talk about it now, after your long journey. I wanted you to know as soon as possible. That's all.
Cristobel.
Around 3 and 6.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you. This is the place. Oh, good evening. Mrs. Pankhurst asked us to call.
Yes. It's Muriel, isn't it? Muriel Delahaye?
Won't you come in?
Mr. and Mrs. Pethick Lawrence.
Em? Why did you ask us here?
Cristobel.
Cristobel? What are you doing here?
You told me you wanted to hear of our decision from Cristobel herself. She has taken great risks to be here.
You'll be going back.
Unless they catch me.
I didn't ask you to take risks.
I wanted to be here.
I see. And you'll confirm what your mother's told us?
Yes.
We want to hear it in your own words. We want to know the reasons.
I think Mother has already given them. I intend in future to direct the Union from Paris. We're in a state of war with the government. There must be unity of purpose, unity of command. I think I have some insight into the actions of our opponents. From now on, we alone shall determine policy. And those who will not accept our orders must act outside the WSPU. As I understand it, you're not prepared to serve the movement on these terms.
Serve the movement? When I first joined you, you hadn't a penny in your funds. Your organization was non-existent. And what is there today? A paid staff of 100. Hundreds of volunteers, offices. An income of £30,000 a year. We've been in prison. We've been held down by prison warders and forcibly fed. We've lost our home. And we're prepared even now to back this cause with every farthing we possess. So tell me again, what is it we're not prepared to do? Tell me.
You're not prepared to accept our new policy.
It's Cristobel I was asking. Oh, speak to us as human beings. You've lived with us day by day, almost as our daughter. Don't stand there like some horrible machine reciting speeches. Tell me.
It's not a question of human relations. It's a question of politics.
Oh, my dear child, that's exactly what politics is all about.
Not in war. I never made you understand that.
No. And I never shall.
Then what? What are we to do?
We shall agree upon a joint statement to be signed by all four of us. We think you should continue to edit Votes for Women, and we shall produce our own official paper to be called the Suffragette. And I shall refer to all these points in my speech in the Albert Hall on October the 17th.
And if we don't agree, we've already been announced as speakers at that meeting.
Well, speak if you wish. But in that case, neither Mother nor any other official of the Union will be on the platform.
I will not accept it. It's a monstrous ultimatum. Very well. You say it's war. Let it be war, then. Let us see what the supporters of this movement want. And I demand the right to ask them from the platform of the Albert Hall.
Then you will speak alone.
No, my love.
You give in?
No, that's not the question. How would it help the cause? There's nothing that we can do now to build on what we've done, only destroy. If we appeal to the movement, we shall split the ranks. Our enemies rejoice, that's all. No, we've no choice, my love. We must accept.
Very well, I do. It's strange. I never knew you.
Why? I never knew myself.
But when unity of purpose is no longer there, I say tonight, as I have always said,
A movement is weakened, and so it is better far that those who cannot agree, cannot see eye to eye as to policy, should set themselves free to pursue their policy as they see it, work for women's suffrage in the future as they think best, while we of the WSPU shall continue the militant agitation initiated by my daughter and myself and a handful of women over 6 years ago. Will you help us? You women here tonight. Well then, if you will, put aside all craven fear, gird on your armor, be militant as we others are, each in your own way. It is not and never has been the policy of this movement recklessly to endanger human life. We leave that to the enemy. But there is something the government cares for far more than human life, and that is property. It is through property that we shall attack the government. Those of you who can break windows, break them. Those of you who can still further attack the secret idol of property, do so. And my last word is to the government. I incite this meeting to rebellion.
Comrades, ye who have dared first in the battle to strive and sorrow.
You can see the next play in this series next Sunday night on BBC One at 11:05.
To a wider morrow, ways that are weary, days that are dreary, toil and pain.